Doyle. It's time to do John Doyle's final video before the election. First of all, let me just say to people who are watching this on YouTube later, welcome, John Doyle simps. You seem to really enjoy to come and downvote my video, which I appreciate. I don't know if they know this. Chat, do you know this about YouTube? When you downvote a video, all you're doing is you're increasing its like interactions, and it gets bumped up. So my John Doyle videos are actually quite popular. Probably in part because of the increased interactivity, gifted to me by John's friends. So thank you, John's friends, for helping me out. I appreciate it. I know supporting trans people is very high up on your priority list, so it's always nice to see you put that into action. Praxis. It's important. So anyway, let's take a look at John's most recent video, his final video before the election, entitled, Why I'm Voting for Trump and Why You Should Too. And the thumbnail says that this is a bipartisan argument for why you should vote for Trump. John Doyle has never been bipartisan in his entire life, which isn't difficult. He's like 21. But nonetheless, I make fun of John for his age. I'm not that much older than John. It's just funny. It's just always funny to me. Because I feel like when I talk about things, I always try and temper it with like, hey, I'm just some jackass on the internet, right? You probably shouldn't listen to me. Whereas John acts like he's God's gift to conservatism. Like he legit thinks he's some savior and his ideas are going to save the party. It's pretty cringe. He was born in 99. What else came out in 1999? Wow, John is only as old as the Euro. That's a shame. President Bill Clinton is acquitted in impeachment proceedings. That was probably John's fault. Anyway, enough with the jokes for now. Let's take a look at the John Doyle video.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the video. This is going to be a bit different than what we usually do. Right now, I'm just going to explain fundamentally why I support Donald Trump and why I will be voting for him and why I think that you should too. And I know that many of you probably will also be voting for Trump. Maybe you already have, but I thought that it might be useful to make a video articulating why he's the best choice so that you can send it to your friends or family members who aren't voting or who just aren't voting for Trump. So you can have a better idea of what to say if someone asks you why you're supporting Trump, etc. And if you're one of those people who don't support Trump, but you're still here, you're still watching, like, seriously, thank you for that. I love that. I would also love it if you watched all the way through. Just hear me out. I'm just trying to extend an olive branch here. And I know that there's a lot of bad stuff in the media about him, that you've heard about him, and you probably have already developed an opinion of him. And that's totally...
I hate the faux like, oh, centrists, come and talk to us. We're very reasonable people. The media's lying to you about Donald Trump's real stuff. Come and hang out with us over at the fasci table. It'll be fine, guys. When has this ever gone wrong for anyone? It's pretty gross.
Fine. Like, I'll be totally transparent with you right now in that I am a conservative. I do support Donald Trump, and I did in 2016 as well, even though I wasn't old enough to vote for him at the time. But I'm not going to try to sell you.
Translation. Let me tell you your talking points for the next 24 hours. Yeah, I get that a lot from people like John and Sargon. The idea that it seems that they're trying to be like, hey, here's the narrative. And that's a thing in like all political media to one extent or another, but I don't know. It always seems a little more blatant in them. I don't know.
You on conservatism, which might sound counterintuitive because Donald Trump is running as a Republican. He's recently described himself as conservative, and even I would say that he is conservative, but I would also argue that Donald Trump has actually changed what it means to be...
I don't even know what conservative means anymore in terms of the American right. Like, in theory, conservatism should be like, I would think, oh, fiscal responsibility. We're going to make sure that the budget is balanced, and we're going to make sure that everything that's funded is funded appropriately. We're going to make sure that like everything's running fine. Oh, we're conservative. We don't necessarily believe in the government butting its head into social issues, but the American right isn't that at all. Donald Trump has raised the deficit every single year under his administration when it went down under Obama. He's not fiscally conservative. He's not responsible. He's not even about like, oh, keep like the courts out of social issues or anything, or keep the government out of social issues. The Republican Party very much wants the law to get involved in social issues. They just want to push them backwards to hurt people. So it's very strange. I don't trust anyone who calls themselves conservative at this point, because it basically has no meaning.
Conservative in this country into something that is very good for our country. You might remember in 2016, we had to deal with lots of conservatives coming out against Trump. They were the never Trump conservatives. And while some of this was because of his character and rhetoric or his general deviancy from what we regard as presidential behavior, I don't know. I would say most of it was and is because he doesn't actually embody the conservative, or more accurately, the neoconservative worldview that we've had for the last few decades in this country. And that was one of the biggest attacks that came from the establishment conservatives. You know, Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, they pointed out the fact that Donald Trump was a Democrat for decades, that he'd given money to Democrats. And they were basically
He gave money to both political parties because he's a rich dude, and that's what rich people do.
saying, hey, how can we nominate this guy as a Republican when he isn't even on board with what we've cemented as the Republican platform? And that's the point. And that's what is just great about Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump isn't a Republican in the sense of the 1990s or 2000s, even the 2010s. And that was something that was very eye-opening to me as I've learned more about the history of our country.
And he's moved the Republican Party in a much worse direction. It's going to be interesting, and I talked about this in an Ask Hannah episode the other day on the Hannah and Jake channel. This idea of, like, Donald Trump permanently changing the face of the Republican Party, and what does that mean for the future of the party? When Donald Trump is no longer the figurehead of the Republican Party, what do Trump Republicans do, and who do they latch on to? Because so much of it is a cult of personality. It's not about having actual like principles, or about having certain like political positions that you really adhere to. It's about, like, what does Trump want, and how does Trump want to trigger the libs, right? Outside of that, the only positions I've seen consistently are, like, ones that are, like, build walls and keep brown people out. Or, like, I don't know, or, like, F black people, basically, when they do the anti-Black Lives Matter stuff. Like, those are the only moral strictures, if you want to say, that they seem to adhere to, and that's not positive. Donald Trump has moved the Republican Party. In many ways, I don't know how much they've moved as much as he tore the mask off of the Republican Party, and it's as horrifying as we all assumed. Donald Trump has not made the Republican Party look good. He's made it look like what it's been for a very long time, and laid it bare for everyone to see, and it's bad. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. How the F is Donald Trump any different from the Republicans of the 90s? He's just as much an establishment bitch boy as zombies like Mitch McConnell. He's the textbook definition of a Republican, right? I don't get it either. He's like a rich businessman from New York. He's the stereotypical Lex Luthor businessman. Literally, Lex Luthor in the 80s was based off of Donald Trump. How can you possibly look at that guy and be like, he's looking out for the little guy? It's absurd. Windchanter with 20 bits. Did he just refer to grab them by the P word as a non-traditional presidential behavior? Because that's just not so. Trump is one of the only one to go mask off about it. Yeah. Tucker White 94, at least people like Kyle Kulinski can eloquently explain the views they hold. I doubt John Doyle could explain his positions without priming from other mouthpieces. I don't think John could be honest about his stuff. John could probably articulate what he wants very well. Like, the guy can speak. He wouldn't have 268,000 followers on YouTube if he wasn't able to put coherent sentences together. It's like a bare minimum thing for YouTube. But he has to hide a lot of the actual backing behind his belief systems, because if he said the quiet part out loud, he would get banned from YouTube. Like, the guys, I'm telling you, John Doyle is a fascist, okay? He's a crypto-fascist. So if he were to come out and be like, actually, let me tell you what I think, and he was honest about it, it would be race realist bullshit. It would be like Stefan Molyneux, oh, we gotta preserve our race bullshit. It would be like the 14 words or whatever they are, we have to preserve, our nation or whatever for white children or whatever this stupid Nazi thing is that they say. Like, the dude is that. He just tries to couch it in like, haha, heck off, commies. Haha, I'm just a meme boy. Let me dab, It's incredibly obnoxious. The Stellar Sea Cow with 20 bits, because he's from New York and they assume anyone from New York is a liberal elite, especially if they have money. Republicans are supposed to be down to earth. Republicans are not down to earth, though. They're not. It's a lot of rich people.
In the evolution of the political parties, I realized...
How do I put this? The Republican Party has an interesting dichotomy in that the leaders are rich people who are scamming poor people into believing that it's black people's fault that they're poor and not the rich people. That's what the Republican Party is.
It's like, wow. When the Democrats talk about Republicans as the party that sells out for Wall Street and the military-industrial complex, they're actually kind of right. And this was largely because of George Bush Sr., who declared that America's post-Cold War imperative was to spread democracy to the rest of the world and to open our borders, to achieve an open society. And the results of that have been terrible. We've destabilized the Middle East, countless lives lost in the process. We've allowed for big business to collude with government, to crush small businesses into the ground, send our jobs overseas.
You'll give me 100 bits if I do a dab? I already did one, but I'll do another one. There's a dab. Give me those sweet, sweet bits.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Yoin80 with 50 bits. Let's be honest, long time from now, Trump will be exhumed by some cult run by someone who is like 5 years old right now and who thought all the wrong things about Trump's presidency. What are they gonna do with Trump's corpse? Wind Chanter with 100 bits. Thank you.
We've been told that we should be okay with this because it leads to countries like China theoretically embracing democracy. That turned out to not be true. And also because it will lead to us...
He did this same spiel in the other video he did this week. He's running out of material. He's looping at this point. He said the exact same statement, like, this is all George Sr.'s fault, and he said we needed to open up the borders and spread democracy, and then they did this exact same speech.
Being able to...
Get new material! Boo!
Theoretically purchase goods at a lower cost, which all other costs accounted for turned out to be false as well. So that was actually a very significant epiphany for me, realizing, like, if I were voting in 1992, I'd straight up probably have voted for Bill Clinton. Unless, of course, there was a former White House communications director running too, then he would have gotten my vote for sure.
MMO addicted with 20 bits. This is what they'll do with Trump's corpse. Can I click on this? Is this safe for work? Hold on, I'll switch off the camera for a sec. Oh, it's... okay, that's fine.
Nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
It's Wolfenstein. Gotcha. Wind Chanter with 20 bits. Can we please cover, John in the Chud Tears special after tomorrow? We're gonna do we're gonna do Chud Watch Friday. Because I want to give people like John, and this is obviously dependent on the results of the election, Biden is in no way, shape, or form a shoo-in. Please go vote. It's entirely possible that Trump will win again, and we'll have to deal with this for another 4 years. And that'll suck. But I want to give like people like John and Sargon and Liberty Hangout a couple days to put videos out that are actually substantive. And we'll watch those Friday. Where is Hannah San Diego? Where on earth is Carmen San Diego?
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Tiger White 94, future historians, we're not sure how this Donald Trump person became a big figure. One historian claims it all began with the hickory smoked baby incident at a sex abacus concert. Jesus Christ.
But the point is that I'm trying to make, Donald Trump has literally changed the paradigm of the two-party system in American politics.
Not for the better. He's made it much, 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 much worse. The Ender 92 with 100 bits. Also, I don't know about you, but I have zero hope that the election results will be done by tomorrow night. No, you shouldn't expect that they will be. There's a ton of mail-in voting that they got to get through. So do not necessarily expect... We might be able to see where the wind is blowing tomorrow night, for lack of a better word, but... Yeah, we probably won't get election results until later in the week, and it's going to be stressful, but it's that nonetheless. So when Trump around 11 p.m. or midnight starts to try and say, like, I won the election, regardless of what the vote count is at that point, and he tries to shut it all down, bear in mind that he's literally just trying to get, past the actual vote count. Don't let that shit fly, okay? Jake disagree, though? What does Jake disagree on? Wing the Ultimate Nug with 20 bits. It's definitely going to be an election month or 2 weeks at best. Oh, God. We'll see what happens if Trump challenges legally and it has to go to the courts. That's going to be a nightmare.
He has realigned it such that the Republican Party has been forced to compromise on positions that hurt the American people, but that made money for Washington and career Republican politicians, right? And he has simultaneously taken the moral position.
How, John? In what ways? Nothing has changed. We had a huge tax giveaway, basically, that cut taxes for the wealthy permanently, but only did so for the middle class on a, I think it was like 4 years. I think next year the middle class Trump tax cuts expire, but the ones for the wealthy are indefinite. That's something that's going to require new legislation to get rid of. Like, what? John, no. We had some of the highest levels of, like, stock buybacks in decades after that. Companies, the big guy, the 1%ers, are flourishing at the expense of the workers. What do you not understand, John? Have you seen unemployment data lately, John? What will a Trump lame duck look like? Oh, here's my prediction. Trump is going to try and dismantle as much of the apparatus of the presidency as possible. He's going to fire every single person he can possibly fire with his power as the president, and try and send the why can't I think of the word? Executive. Wow, I'm blanking today. My stress levels are too high. He's going to try and make the executive branch go into complete disarray after he tries to dismantle it. Captain Rose the 20 bits, just a reminder for everyone in blue states to still vote so we can remind Trump he lost the popular vote when he pulls his BS. Yeah.
From the Democrats, which has forced them to implicitly embrace the positions formerly taken by the Republicans simply to be in opposition to Trump. I saw a graphic on Twitter the other day that perfectly summarizes this, so I'll put it up on screen and explain it. So before Donald Trump, the positions of the Republican Party that were moral were that they were pro-life.
Let's take a look, shall we? Pre-Trump, post-Trump. Moral policies pre-Trump. Pro-life, lower taxes, is lower taxes a moral policy? It really isn't. That's a selfish policy that's short-sighted. Pro-life, lower taxes, law and order, Wall Street, endless wars, military complex, and then moral policy post-Trump for Republicans. Pro-life, low taxes, law and order, anti-war, working man, Main Street. Anti-war. Hey, John. Remember how Trump pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal? The deal that independent inspectors were saying was working really, really well. And then he also launched missiles and assassinated a leader of that country? Cool. Working man Main Street. In what way? In what way has Donald Trump helped Main Street in any way, shape, or form? Again, the Trump tax cuts led to the largest stock buybacks from large corporations in decades. Why do you think that's a positive thing that Walmart now owns more of its own stock and can pump it up? Like, the stock market's an absolute mess right now. If anyone doesn't follow it, like, we are in a wacky bubble. We are in a wacky bubble, and in the next year or two, it's gonna pop, and they're gonna blame Biden when really it was a lot of factors, one of which was Trump pumping dumb amounts of money into it from the Fed to try and keep it from crashing during the COVID stuff. Let's see the moral policies, pre-post-Trump for Democrats. Pre-Trump, anti-war, working man, Main Street, illegal aliens, socialist media, abortion rights. Socialist media? Is that like Facebook, but we all get to own it? Wall Street, endless wars. Look, John, I'm a leftist. I'm not going to tell you that the Democratic Party is amazing, and they certainly take too many corporate donations and do too much for rich people. I agree, and that's something that needs to be shifted, but they do it to a lesser extent that Republicans do. And also, I don't agree with the military complex, endless wars bit. Again, they do it somewhat, but not to the extent that Republicans, yes, even Trump Republicans do. Also, abortion rights are not an immoral policy, despite how much you guys want to beat that drum. Tucker White. Excuse me, Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Ooh, I see John trying to sneak that premise by us, labeling these policies moral policies. Yeah. Wind Chanter with 20 bits. Do you think Biden will actually fight for a public option like he says, or is he just trying to get the Bernie vote? I think he will. Guys, the public option was originally part of the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, and then it got, you know, whittled away by Republicans. So I would genuinely think that Joe Biden would be fine with the public option, which would be good. That'd be a good first step. Please, people, vote for Joe Biden.
They supported low taxes. They supported law and order. And politics is all about signaling and selling morality. That's why both parties try to reduce everything to arguments of morality. So if you listen to the liberal media, they'll tell you, well, pro-life isn't about protecting unborn children. It's actually about controlling women's bodies.
Correct.
Low taxes isn't about allowing Americans to keep more of what they earn. It's about letting big business get away with not paying their fair share.
Yes, correct. We see this in wealthy people like Donald Trump, who've paid $750 in taxes over the last decade, even though they claim to be billionaires. Like, this isn't okay, John. Low tax policies have led to crumbling infrastructure, a disastrous educational system. Like, all this Reaganite, like, oh, taxes are bad, is childish. You need taxes to run a society. And I'm not telling you that someone who makes $12, $24, $36, $50,000 a year needs to be taxed more. I'm saying that currently, under the tax system that we have, billionaires like Jeff Bezos and the corporations they own are not paying their fair share. When people on the left, like me, talk about raising taxes, we're not talking about on working class people. We're not talking about workers. We're talking about the owner class, the people who own those companies, the companies themselves, the people who basically F over their employees by not paying them enough. We're not talking about you, John. I don't even know how much money John makes. He lives with his parents, though, so I don't think it's very much. But who knows? I don't know how many people spend money to go on his Discord or whatever.
Law and order, that's not about keeping Americans safe so they can live their lives in peace and do as they please. It's about militarizing the police so they can harass minorities. And since the vast majority of the media, Hollywood, and academia are left-wing,
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
The most educated and empathetic people in this country are on the left? Gee, I wonder why. The Shadow Witch with 25 bits. What about the taxation on overtime wages being higher for middle and low class? Taxation on overtime wages being higher for middle and lower class. I don't know anything about that. That'd probably be bad, though.
These moral obfuscations from the left are pretty common. I'm sure you've heard them 1,000 times before by now. But conversely, the Democrats had a few very important moral positions before Donald Trump as well, mainly that they were anti-war, they were for the working man, and they were for Main Street, which is just small businesses. And the Republicans would do the same thing to try to obfuscate these positions, granted with less influence, but still, you know, they'd say being anti-war isn't about being anti-war, it's about letting the people thousands of miles away from us take our freedom. Hey,
I missed bits. Give me a sec. But we had a supermajority of Democrats when the ACA was passed, so why didn't we get a public option? That would be, I think, due to a bunch of, what's the word I'm thinking of? Filibustering, and also Obama was too keen to meet halfway with Republicans, which he should not have done. The Ender 92 with 50 bits. Mom, go put my sweet chicken teriyaki footlong in the oven. I gotta go own the liberals real quick. This is the person people listen to.
Being for the working man is actually about regulating businesses into the ground, and being against Wall Street is the same idea. And I do think there's some truth to that with regard to regulating businesses, but really the difference is that the Democrats used to be in support of protecting American workers through immigration policies and trade policies that put the American worker first. And so Donald Trump, a former Democrat, comes along and has now...
Donald Trump was not a former Democrat. I hate this talking point. Giving money to a party when you're super, super rich does not make you a member of that party. He gave both money to Republicans and Democrats. It's for influence reasons. He talked about this during the 2016 election when he criticized Hillary Clinton, when he said, I've given you money, I've given other people money. You do it for favors, basically.
Now literally realize...
Wind Chanter with 20 bits. So why do we think Joe Biden will succeed when he has more of a track record of working and giving away to Republicans? It's a good question. I don't know. I don't know how effective Joe Biden's going to be in furthering positive policies like a public option. I hope he is. We'll see what Congress's makeup is going to be and if we get the Senate. Because honestly, if the Democrats don't get the Senate anyway, even if Joe Biden wins, nothing's going to get done. But I'd rather nothing get done than the continued erosion of the function of our government by Donald Trump and the Republicans. It's better to stand still than to take steps backward. And from standing still, we can at least catch our breath and then move forward and re-strategize to figure out how we're going to make progress. Whereas now, it's just every day we're panicking. We're trying to like, oh God, another thing happened? Donald Trump's trying to remove the thing where trans people can't get removed from their health care because they're trans? Oh no, now we gotta deal with that. Oh, today he's talking some crazy bullshit about working with Putin. Oh no, now we got to deal with this stuff. You know, it's just, guys, vote for Biden. Come on.
Party system to where the conservative base is now pro-life, for low taxes, for law and order, and now also anti-war for the working man and small businesses by
again, you haven't really justified the switch that's proposed by these charts here. In what way is Donald Trump more for the working man or Main Street?
Securing our borders and bringing jobs back to America and cutting regulations that kill small businesses. And because
regulations are good, guys. I'm not saying there's no such thing as over-regulation, but we are not in that state in the United States. We do not have an overabundance of regulation. Regulations have been continually stripped from basically every industry since the 1980s. It hasn't worked out. You know what happens when you don't have stringent regulations? You ever seen those videos from other countries where people like get in an elevator or they open an elevator shaft and the elevator's not there and they just fall down the shaft? That's what no regulations looks like. It's not good. Wing the Ultimate Nug with 20 bits. Don't worry, we Gen Z will create a socialist party in 3 to 4 cycles max, at least according to the poll numbers and Pew Research about how socialist the youth are. We'll see. I would hope so, but there's no guarantees. Wind Chanter with 20 bits. I agree. Vote for Biden. Yes. Please, everyone listen to me and Wind Chanter. Go vote for Biden.
Because of that, the Democrats have now embraced the immoral positions that hurt the American people. They are now in the pocket of Wall Street. They are now in favor of the endless wars in the Middle East.
I would love to see your citation on that one, John. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Republicans aren't anti-war. In the most recent defense bill, only 6 House representatives voted against it. Yeah. The idea that Republicans are somehow anti-war now is mind-boggling. Do you guys... this is going to feel like 10 years ago. Do you remember in January or February when there was, like, the memes about World War III happening again because Trump, like, assassinated a guy? Like, do you not remember? Or in the missile strikes, do you not remember these things? This is an ancient history, John. This was literally this year.
They are now in favor of the military-industrial complex. They are now in favor of opening up the borders and granting amnesty to illegal immigrants.
That's a positive thing. As far as I'm concerned, that's not a negative.
They're in favor of unrestricted abortion access.
There's nothing funny about the tools
Again,
of capitalism.
Positive. Ammo Addicted with 20 bits. Check this out, Hannah. It's amazing. Okay. Oh, another Liberian flag person.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Wind Chanter with 20 bits. Trump wanted to nuke hurricanes. He had to be told why that's a bad idea. Vote Biden. Yes, I read that story too.
They're totally okay with promoting all of this in their media, in the schools, and censoring people who try to speak out against it. And if there's one thing that you take away from this, the one thing that I really, really want you to think about more than anything is that are we really going to pretend that it's all a coincidence? Like all of a sudden, the entire media, Hollywood, the ruling class, Wall Street, the Washington establishment, the FBI, CIA, all of those agencies, all of the bureaucracy over which Trump is supposed to have control, the Democrats, many of the...
Why did you list Hollywood in that list if you're going to end the statement with things Trump is supposed to have control over? I don't know if you know this, John. The president isn't supposed to have power over the the media of the country that they rule. Not something that you're supposed to do. Wind Chanter, I don't know if I read that one. Maybe someone followed. Jojo Vizla, thank you for following.
Republicans, especially in the first half of his term, are we really going to pretend that all of the sudden those...
And also, yes, the FBI and the CIA are full of right-wing people. It's a law enforcement agency, John, and an intelligence agency. It tends to skew right-wing. What are you talking about? By the way, Trump's deporting fewer people than Obama did. I know. That's one of the things I criticize Obama for, was all the deportations and stuff. But I find it funny that people like John make the claim that, like, Trump is super-duper hard on immigrants, illegal immigrants, when he's not, relative to even Obama. It's very strange.
Those people have our best interest at heart, that all of a sudden, all of the people we know intuitively to be corrupt, to sell us out to make more money for themselves, and to gain more power, all of a sudden, they just decided Donald Trump, a man who was literally taking the moral positions from both parties to put the American people first, a man who was taken on...
John, you're so close. We all recognize, at least everyone here in this chat, and probably a lot of people in your chat, recognize that we have a problem in this country with wealthy elites working towards their own benefit while it's harming the rest of us. The solution to that problem is not Donald Trump. Donald Trump is symbolically and literally part of the problem. He's a billionaire who inherited his money from his father and failed upwards for like 50 years. The guy is not going to solve your problems. He hasn't solved your problems. It's been 4 years. They had the Senate and the House for 2 of those years. Like, guys, Donald Trump isn't going to fix your shit. He doesn't care. It's not even, it's beyond not caring. Donald Trump has been wealthy every day of his life. He has never struggled once. Ever. Understand that. He is incapable of understanding the problems that normal people face because they are so out of the realm of his experience, he can't even imagine them. Donald Trump is another rich asshole who wants to get as much money as possible, and it's like he doesn't even know why. It's just a game. It's a game, and you gotta get the high score. Don't vote for Donald Trump. He is not the solution to the problem of the wealthy taking advantage of the working class. He's the opposite. He's part of the problem. John's close to figuring it out. Yeah. Captain Rosa, 20 bits. Trump is deporting less, but those who are being deported are being dehumanized far worse than our already shitty experience Obama left us in that regard. I would agree. The original Lila says, I gotta go, Hannah. Going to play a game with my girlfriends. Hope the stream goes well. Again, love to and hope you're having a safe time voting. To chat, please go vote and stay safe. Well, thanks for coming to the stream. The Shadow Witch with 30 bits. You watched Sharknado in anticipation. You were in awe of Firenado, but now Trump has an idea that ends up being one of the scientists' race against time. It's Hiroshima coming summer of 2021. Funny. Windchanter with 50 bits. I want to hashtag save Dave so we can sick him on John Doyle. I don't think the save Dave thing is stupid. No offense to Jake. I just, Dave is a lost cause. Why bother?
Wall Street, the military-industrial complex, Big Pharma, all of the sudden, those people are just going to be honest with us that all of the sudden...
John, Big Pharma has been entirely protected by Republicans over the last 20 years. If it weren't for Republicans, we would have a public option, and Big Pharma, that's only a thing that makes, like, the only for-profit healthcare system in the Western world is the United States. It's not working out. And it's been protected by people on the right. It continues to be. Donald Trump for the past 4 years and more since the election, since campaigning for 2016, has been like, I have a great healthcare plan. It's the best healthcare plan. I'll reveal it very soon. And we're 4 years in, and he's still yet to reveal what his healthcare plan is because Republicans don't have one. Because their healthcare plan is being rich and paying for your own shit. And if you're not rich, F you. That's the plan, and they're going to continue to take kickbacks from large pharmaceutical companies and from the medical industry in general to make sure that that stays the status quo. Because the second people start getting reasonable health care paid for by their taxes, that shit, the genie's not going back in the bottle after that. People are going to realize they've been lied to for decades by these people. It's going to be bad.
The most powerful people in the world, the people who control what information is put on our screens and into our minds, that they're just going to establish a consensus that Donald Trump is actually bad and that they're going to be honest with us about that. I don't buy that for a second.
Everyone around me, all the media, and most of the people in this country are telling me Donald Trump is bad. Am I out of touch? No, it's literally everyone else who's wrong. It's a Skinner moment.
The unfortunate reality of American politics that we all know.
Nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Tucker White 94, by the way, here's a list of industries that contribute to Donald Trump. Oh, weird. Donald Trump takes a bunch of money from industry? Weird. Wait a minute. Donald Trump has been given $11 million from the TV, movie, and music industry? But John just told me that they're part of the liberal media. Weird.
Is that no one ever got rich shilling for the American people. It has never happened. So do you think that it's possible?
But Donald Trump is rich, according to you. So how's that work?
That if, say, there were someone, a billionaire reality TV star who really doesn't know a whole lot about politics, he doesn't speak with a large level of sophistication.
Imagine hearing Trump for the last 4 years and then sugarcoating his insane speech as he's doesn't speak with the largest level of sophistication. The best. It's the best. Let me tell you, my crowd sizes, they're fantastic. The Democrats, they come in here with their COVID and they say, oh, it's gonna be a disaster. It's gonna be a disaster. But no, actually, it's fantastic. We're rounding a corner. We're rounding a corner. We have the best medicine in the world. We're gonna solve it. We're gonna solve coronavirus. I've been the greatest president in the history of ever, maybe. The best since Lincoln. I work for you. I work for you. The best. And other greatest hits.
But he does have instincts. He does love his country. He also has a tremendous ego and would love nothing more than to be the guy that spearheads the fight to drain the corruption from our political system.
Having an ego is not a good thing for the President of the United States to have, and I can't even believe I have to say that out loud. The Under 92. Also, good luck getting home. We aren't bringing the buses back. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. I've seen studies that suggest Trump speaks at a 4th grade level. That's probably true. A lot of newspapers are written at a 5th grade level, and I think that's part of the reason Trump appeals to low education voters. I do wonder, for instance, like, when Obama speaks, and you can say whatever you want about Obama, I have plenty to criticize Obama for, but overall he was a respectable president. He didn't dishonor the office of president. I disagree with him politically and think he did some morally questionable shit, but he was an effective politician, right? I do think he compromised too much, but everyone thinks that about their politicians. Did people who like Trump and really love the way Trump speaks, did they listen to Obama giving, like, amazing speeches? Because Obama's quite the orator, whatever you think of him. Did they listen to Obama speak and they just couldn't follow it? Like, I'm not being mean. I'm legitimately asking. Were they confused? Did they not understand some of the words he was using? And therefore, in their brain, it's like, I don't understand this hoity-toity college boy. I don't like him. And then Donald Trump comes along and speaks, like, at a 4th grade level. And they're like, I understand these words. Yay! Just wondering.
There's nothing funny about
I'm addicted to 20 bits. Most morally questionable thing Obama did, wearing the teal suit. This is a joke. He wore a tan suit. Obama spoke at an 8th to 9th grade level. Is that true? He's still pretty eloquent in the way he does it. Ender 92 orator. What are we playing, D&D now? Get that stuff out of here. Orator's a word. It means someone who speaks well, basically. It means someone who can give good speeches.
Do you think it's possible that if that happened, the people pulling the strings would do everything in their power to convince you that he's evil, that he's working against you, he's working with Russia, whatever they can think of? It doesn't matter, because the people who have profited from making our country and our families weak are now using their influence to try to convince you that actually they can be trusted. And I don't buy that for a second, especially because if you go back and you watch what Donald Trump has been saying for decades, you can watch him on Oprah, mainstream media interviews, whatever. The message has always basically been, I am sick of watching our stupid leaders let our country get ripped off while they make money from it. And he has been saying that for decades. And that's basically the message of his whole campaign. He said, we are going to put America first. And again, he doesn't read political philosophy. He doesn't have the training of a politician, but he does.
Again, imagine saying these things and thinking it's good. I know a doctor. He's the best, okay? He's not one of these hoity-toity college boys. He doesn't know all the medical stuff too well, but he has heart. He believes, right? So he goes into a surgery, and he's not so good with the knives. He's not the best, but hey, he's got the spirit. I'll give it to him, okay? He goes in there, and he cuts and he cuts and he cuts, and sometimes the patient lives. Sometimes the patient lives, and they're very happy with the results, okay? Like, you wouldn't hire a doctor and laud that doctor for being inexperienced, right? Politicians are just the same. You don't want an inexperienced person. Which is funny, too, because, like, guys, does the right realize that if Trump... The greatest asset to the left the last 4 years hasn't been like some amazing fight-back campaign by the Democrats, because the Democrats suck at being an opposition party. The thing that's helped the left the most the last 4 years is Trump's utter incompetence as a politician. If Trump were still Trump, but he was smarter on politics, we would have been in even more trouble. Luckily, Trump is incompetent, so that stopped a lot of his own shit, whether it's through the courts or whatever else. For context, that same study said George W. Bush spoke at a 6th grade level. Okay. Captain Rose, 20 bits, orator is not a word, liar. I'm pretty sure it is. Stellar Seacow with 20 bits, honestly, maybe I only spend time around intelligent children, but Trump speaks at like a kindergarten level. And then Mark Zuckerberg, 240 with 100 bits, just stopping by to deliver some hopium. Just got back from voting here in Michigan and was in line for 2 hours. Turnout looks to be incredible. Good. Wind Chanter, that doctor must be a total Zoidberg.
Does know what has to be done to put the American people first. And they know that he knows that too. And that is why they have been firing on all cylinders for the last 5 years to stop this man. There is a reason that even his own administration has been against him and trying to subvert him. In addition to...
His own administration is against him, guys. No wonder Trump got almost nothing done except for destructive things. I know the wall isn't built. I know he doesn't have a new health care plan for you. I know he hasn't actually helped unemployed people or helped actually lower unemployment at all thanks to his mishandling of COVID. But trust us, give us 4 more years and he'll nail it.
To all the negative media coverage. And as far as I can tell, could be for 2 reasons. 1, he's actually fighting against the establishment and for the American people. Or 2, he's actually just the worst, which would then...
There you go!
Beg the question, why did they wait until he ran for president to start treating him this way?
Because he only became a threat to the general public at the point that he started to run for president, John. Really? Do you need... Like, imagine there's like a crazy homeless guy who lives in Central Park, right? And he rants every day about, the pigeons. The pigeons are going to control our minds. The pigeons are going to upend American homogeneity, and I cannot have that. And then one day, Pigeon Man runs for president. People might make fun of Pigeon Man at first, but then slowly, a large swath of the Republican base has started voting for Pigeon Man, and Pigeon Man has started winning primaries. At that point, the media is probably going to start hitting on Pigeon Man at some point. Like, oh, Pigeon Man, your policy of putting tinfoil hats on all the pigeons to block their psycho waves, I don't think that's a reasonable policy. And Pigeon Man goes, you liars in the fake media, you Lugan pressin' losers, we're gonna get little tinfoil hats, okay, for all the pigeons, and the birds are gonna pay for it. My point is, the reason that they didn't talk about Trump a bunch before he ran for president was because he was just another rich asshole doing his rich asshole shtick, which isn't something that the media, being corporate media, is good at hitting at. But once he starts running for president, yeah, he starts to harm other people in a more visible way, in a more substantial way than just your typical rich a-hole. So that would be why, John. If you're genuinely asking the question, which I know you're not. Orator is a word, you Googled it, and as we all know, Google knows all. Bow to Google, peons. Bow to your monopolist overlord of world information.
Like, he used to be adored. He was a cultural icon. But then he ran for president. He lost hundreds of millions of dollars, even billions by some...
Windchanter with 20 bits. He has a plan, Hannah. It's the best plan. It's going to cover everything. It'll cover pre-existing conditions, but it won't be Medicare for all because that's socialism.
Estimates. He sacrificed his relaxed and luxurious lifestyle. He could have just retired, but no. He made all those sacrifices. And for what?
Sacrifices. Yes, I wish I could sacrifice and go live at the White House. Jesus Christ, people. Daddy Sume with 20 bits. F all of you, Daddy is here. F John Doyle, F Trump, F Republicans. God effing dang. I wish this country every 4 years. I hate this country every 4 years. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Maybe you won't have to hate it this year.
For you. I seriously believe that with all of my heart. The only reason a man like Donald Trump, who had everything he could ever ask for, would ever sacrifice that is because he loves his country, he loves the people in his country, and he has a
or he wanted power. Because at a certain point, John, I don't know if you realize this, at a certain point, more money doesn't really do a lot for you. At a certain point, money's just a scoreboard. Like, Donald Trump was already rich enough that he could have literally anything he wanted at any moment, right? That you can buy with money, at least. But power, that's an intangible. You can't just buy power. I mean, you can in convoluted ways, like bribing people, donating to their campaigns. But if you want real power, then you run for something like president. Or on a smaller level, like governor, mayor, or something. But, like, people like power, John. Becoming the most powerful person on the planet politically is not a sacrifice, no matter how you try and frame that. Antipodian Squid, thank you for subscribing. 6-month streak. Childs, Karens, and conspiracy theorists. 6 months of pain? No, 6 months of masochistic joy. Daddy Sume, I'll still hate it even if Biden wins because our electoral system is a joke. I'm not gonna hate it if Biden wins. I'll deal with it and work in the next 4 years to try and get Biden to try and be less centrist by spreading messages, but, you know, one person can only do so much. You do what you can. How old is John? He's 21, I think. Yeah, he's 21.
Perfectly, in my opinion. And that in itself is the biggest case for Donald Trump. He represents the American people. Washington, D.C. has betrayed us for decades. They have sent our jobs overseas. They have sent our young men and women to die in the sand for nothing. They've allowed drug companies to make billions of dollars getting Americans addicted to opiates. They've crushed...
And your strategy for undoing all of this and changing things is to vote for the party that spearheaded all of the things that you're talking about? Interesting strategy.
Small businesses into the ground while taking money from...
Tiger White 94. Those who still think Trump's working for the people, here's a list of companies who've given him money, i.e. puppet masters. Yeah, there's a link in chat. We looked at it briefly earlier.
Big businesses. These people are corrupt. They're sociopaths. And they're acting exactly as we'd expect them.
Trump is a sociopath. If we're just calling people sociopaths, and we know there have been studies that have been done that, like, a ridiculous number of, like, CEOs and religious figures, I mean people who, like, work high up in churches and stuff, a large percentage of them are sociopaths, I agree. But if we're just gonna be like, hey, such and such people are sociopaths, Trump is definitely on that list. If we're if we're doing armchair psychology, Trump is a sociopath, guys. Trump is a narcissist at the very least.
Them to act if someone were to actually pose a threat to the status quo. They are melting down, they're scrambling, and they are panicking. And it fills me with incredible optimism. And if I talk about it too long, I'll probably start crying, unironically. So in the meantime, we're going to talk about some of the specific issues for this election and some of the things that people say against Trump. But first, we have to thank our sponsors for this video. I put together a pretty epic commercial. So Jamie, pull the clip up. Yo, what's up, boys? You know what's epic? Being a boy. You know what's not epic? Not having a gun. Problem solved. Now we got a gun. You know what we don't have? Access to cheap ammo. Why is that? The pandemic, the election, the race riots. People are buying up ammo. And so what do you need? You need a bullet that can shoot forever and ever. And you know what else would be cool? If you could just do training in your own house. You don't even have to go to the range. You don't have to deal with all the FUDs, all the boomers, all the LARPers. We've actually got a product that can solve.
I like that John doesn't think he's a LARPer. That's cute. Daddy Suman with 20 bits. Love you, Hannah. I can't stand Doyle today. I'm too pissed off at people. I'll see you all for a more fun stream next time.
Funny about the tools
Cool.
of capitalism.
See you, Daddy Sume. Sorry you can't handle John. Knob J with 100 bits. Isn't it interesting that a lot of John's arguments focus on how he feels? Yeah. He's the opposite of Ben Shapiro. I mean, Ben Shapiro does that, but he at least pretends like that's not what he's doing.
About the tools of capitalism.
It's called the iTarget Pro system for dry fire training. What do they give you? They give you this epic sled. They give you a bullet that shoots lasers forever. Allow me to explain. You take your pistol or your rifle. They even have them in 223, 556. You've got all your major pistol calibers, 9mm, 10mm. You've got your 38 special for revolvers.
I forgot I'm supposed to go over to Jake's later. Whoopsie.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Dear God, it's the subway thing all over again. Nope, wait, that's just John. 2man642, 25 bits. John Doyle is the same age as my younger brother who used to buy Madden NFL every year. If I don't listen to my bro, why would anyone else listen to him?
Whatever you want. Then you simply insert the forever bullet into the chamber of the pistol. We're good to go. Then you simply line up and then see that was a bullseye. Another 10. 8. 9. The point being that it helps.
Does he think this is funny? Is this supposed to be like a comedy bit? EON80, can I just say, as an economist, I get triggered so hard because these right-wingers take some crap from boomers at the Chicago School of Economics and think they understand how the whole economy works, yeah.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Undead Felis with 20 bits, look at Johnny Boy go.
Helps you anticipate the recoil of the firearm. You know who does dry fire training? The U.S. military, law enforcement. Epic guys, this could be you. Hold on. Did someone say, do it again one-handed? Okay. 9. Did someone say, do it from even
What
farther
is this
distance?
shit?
Okay. And then we're gonna cut it, and I'm gonna be over here.
Funny about the tools of capitalism.
This will defend. 7. 8. 8. Now what's the benefit of being able to do this in the privacy of your own home? Train for every situation.
Funny about the tools of capitalism.
I'm training for every situation.
Wind Chanter with 20 bits, don't think it's supposed to be funny. I think he's just LARPing extra hard so it's funny to us. It's gotta be, he's trying to be funny. It's just not very funny. Larrykins, it's not funny in the way he intends. How about that? It's funny, but not for the reasons he thinks it is. Knowing how young John is, I recognize the way he talks and reasons as someone who is learning how to argue a point in an essay for the first time. I mean, he went to high school. I'm sure he knows how to argue. Dr. Gamble, okay, he convinced me I'll get a gun. Can I have the gun that can kill the past so I can stop Trump from being elected? Jesus Christ.
But I could possibly be in. More situations. What about, because you never know what situation you're going to be in. So here's one. They disarm you. They take your gun. It's over there. They're like, do as many push-ups as you can or else we're going to kill you. Now you're like, oh no, you're down. You're doing push-ups. They're going to kill you. But wait a minute. No. Not funny anything to say about it. So check the link out in the description. Get yourself one of these epic systems. They're a friend of the channel. It's well worth the investment. Well worth.
Okay, so it's like a little toy gun thing that's like target practice for in your house. Sort of strange. Okay. Place your phone in our patented Target iSled phone grip with the back camera facing the target. Run the official iTarget phone app available on Android and Apple devices. Following the prompt on our app, load up your selected firearm with the iTarget official laser bullet. The iTarget offers a wide range of calibers for all types of guns. Fire the weapon at the iTarget sled target sheet and see exactly where your shots are hitting. Our app will track scores and analyze your shots in real time. Save your results and share with others. I feel like it's not going to be super helpful in getting better as a normal shot, though, because there's no recoil. Like, compensating for recoil, and I've only fired guns twice. I'm not saying this is for sure, because I'm not a gun person. Seems to me that making sure you're ready and compensating for the recoil is part of, like, target training, right? It's not going to make you better at shooting a gun if you're not under mostly real-world conditions. Logarth, it's a laser bullet that goes in a real gun that lets you practice firing exercises. It's actually used a lot, but people don't like them because it doesn't recoil. Okay, see? I just said that, too. Cool. Furry gang, let's hype it, says Winch Chanter.
At the time, very epic. iTarget Pro in the description. Let's go! Can you tell that I have fun doing those? But anyways, to get back to what we were talking about, you might have noticed that I say the American people a lot when talking about stuff like this. And there's a reason for that. And the reason for that is that our government exists first and foremost for us. It's like Abraham Lincoln said in the Gettysburg Address, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. We're not talking about a world government where all 7 billion of us have to follow one set of rules. No, we're talking about Americans.
That's a weird... Okay, Lincoln was talking about the United States because he's the president of the United States. Nowhere in the Gettysburg Address does Lincoln somehow be like, by the way, globalism bad, because globalism wasn't even a twinkle in the eye of George Soros at that point. So can we not pretend like Lincoln was somehow like, by the way, I know we're dealing with a civil war right now, but we can't do the globalism. Stupid. Captain Rose, the 20 bits at this point, why not just get an airsoft gun and have a real fun in your backyard instead of inadvertently training, because airsoft gun people aren't paying John to make an ad for them. Wind Chanter with just 3 uwoos. Highly Interp with 25 bits. Unrelated to the Doyle cringe. Hannah's looking cute today. Thank you. EON80 with 20 bits. It also comes with pre-wet pants, so it can simulate how you will actually feel with a gun pointed at you.
We pay for our government, and they exist to look out for us, first and foremost. That is their whole purpose. The American government exists to prioritize the interests and well-being of the American people. This is a completely common sense and not at all controversial idea. And this isn't because we don't want to get along with other countries.
John, the implication that you're having here is that global politics is a zero-sum game where in order to help ourselves, we need to hurt other people. And that's not really the case. You can have mutually beneficial agreements in which, like, how do I put this? Like, I agree that exporting capital and allowing businesses to take advantage of people in developing economies as basically slave labor, I agree that that's bad. But that doesn't mean that there isn't a system of free trade that could be beneficial to everyone. If we're doing free trade, it seems to be that you should also have a free system where labor can move freely. That way the market itself determines, you know, what's a fair price to pay for labor. If you can go somewhere else and work there and you get paid more, you're gonna do that. I don't know. It just seems weird to me that the only system you can imagine is one in which we have to prioritize America, and America first always means F other countries, which it doesn't. Like, you can benefit America while working with our allies around the globe. Antipodian Squid with 50 bits. Does John not realize that the U.S. leadership had a huge impact globally? Good grief. I think he'd just prefer that's not the case. He wants to go back to basically pre-World War I isolationism, or even World War II. After World War I, the United States did not want to get involved in World War II either.
Countries, or because we don't want to help them out. Of course.
My mic died? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? No, it's picking up. Weird.
We do. But the problem is that we can't even take care of ourselves. We have millions of homeless people. We have single mothers.
Right, John, all these things could be helped by raising taxes on the wealthy and getting better social programs, better social safety nets, all things that Republicans are against. You are the cause of these problems, John, or at least the cause of not being able to fix them appropriately.
Our family structure is deteriorating. Our healthcare system is a total disaster. Wages have been stagnant for decades until recently under Donald Trump.
Ah! That's untrue.
But the point is that we have a lot on our plate and we are hurting. And so before we start thinking about helping other people, we need to focus on our people first, because if we don't do that, then pretty soon we won't even be in a good enough position to help anybody else out anyways. And the reason that that's deemed wrong by the media is that a lot of very powerful people make a lot of money by lobbying for open borders, both in terms of immigration and trade policy. And the American worker does not benefit when we bring in millions of people to compete for his job. Big business does because of simple labor economics, which is that when you have more people competing for the same job, you can pay them less to do it. And at the same time, we've been sending our manufacturing jobs over to benefit countries like China.
Think Taylor 84 with 20 bits. Haven't they been trying to tax cuts on the wealthy for like 70 years and things continue to decline? At what point do they admit the experiment failed? They never do, because the intent is not actually to help the American people or society as a whole. It's to give their rich donors tax breaks. It's a short-sighted worldview.
And so we have American workers competing for fewer jobs against more immigrants from third world countries because big business makes a ton of money from it. And we'll talk about the economy because that's kind of the most important issue typically with elections, and our borders are directly related to that. And also to our country as a whole, like our whole purpose. Because if we don't secure our borders, what's the point of even having a country? Like, what are we even doing here?
I agree. Let's tear it all down, guys. Fuck these map lines. I don't care.
We just dwelling? No, there's more to a country than that. And so we
Chief Tony, thank you for subscribing with a 3-month streak.
have to secure our borders not only to protect the American worker from unnecessary foreign competition.
Oh, is he gonna do terrorist fear-mongering, despite the fact that most, like, terrorist attacks lately, if they're not done by someone who's, like, from ISIS or whatever, it's like right-wing conservatives? Let's take a look, shall we?
That has been lobbied for by big business, but we also have to have a country. We have to have a country, so you have to have security.
Oh no, it's just a general. We have to have a country. A country is literally the lines we have on a map. It has nothing to do with, you know, any of the cultural, like, beliefs of the people within it. Whatever. Winchanter with 20 bets. What happens when those rich donors can't breathe because of air pollution and can't drink because they've tainted the groundwater? They're rich enough that they'll figure something out. At least for a while. I agree, it's stupid. Like, wealthy people today aren't gonna face the really bad stuff. We're talking 2-3 generations away. Maybe even more. Where, like, their kids' we're gonna have to deal with that stuff, and they don't care.
Secure borders. Donald Trump is in favor of all of this, whereas Joe Biden is not. Joe Biden wants to decriminalize border crossings so that
Okay, that's fine.
anyone can come in. He wants to give citizenship to tens of millions of illegal immigrants who are here illegally.
Yeah, as it turns out, John, since they're not documented, they don't pay taxes, but they are here nonetheless, and as it would be immoral to send them somewhere else now that many of them have lived here for decades, many of them also have families here, it would be pretty ridiculous to send them back. It would also not be helpful to us, so why do it? Give these people citizenship, allow them to pay taxes, and be part of the American system. That's beneficial to everybody.
Along with preventing them from being deported, and he wants to get rid of all the immigration orders that Trump has.
Larry Kins with 100 bits. People like John talking about border control always gives me uncomfortable vibes. Though that might be because I live in an island country where the border is water. Might be it.
Enacted while in office. And that's just not fair to the American people. It's not that we don't want these people here, but it isn't fair that our economy has to suffer since a majority of these.
There's no indication that immigration like that actually damages the economy. In fact, it's been shown in many areas where there's undocumented immigrants that it's helped the economy. I know that's going to put a thorn in the side of people like John, but that's the case. The Shadow Witch, thank you for gifting a sub.
These immigrants, both legal and illegal, are on welfare programs that on the net, they take more from the economy than they contribute in taxes.
Oh, I guess we should make them legal then, so they pay more taxes on, like, their income and don't have to be paid under the table. Cool. Glad we agree, John. The Mightiest Quinn, thank you for following.
And that our workers have to compete with them for jobs to get paid less because our government has sold them out when they're supposed to be working.
Hey, John, if you're concerned that capitalists, being the immoral people they are, and you recognize this inherently in the argument you're making, businesses are always going to try and race to the bottom in terms of wages. So what you do in that case is you make what's called, and hear me out, it's called a regulation, where companies cannot pay their employees lower than a certain amount. Actually, we already have something like that. It's called the minimum wage. So if you raise the minimum wage to a livable standard, then no one can get fucked over by their employer in that regard. Sound good? Cool. EO in 80 with 20 bits. Fun fact, Nixon almost brought in UBI what was given a false report that it increased divorce rates. What is that even?
For them. Trade policy is related to this as well. Joe Biden supported the trade policies that sent American jobs overseas and hollowed out towns all throughout the country. I mean, why do you think the Rust Belt went for Trump? We're tired of it. We're tired of being sold out. We're tired of being lied to. So yeah, we're going to send in President Cheeto just as a middle finger to the Washington establishment.
Yeah, throwing a hand grenade into a governmental system that you don't like is usually a good way to go, and doesn't it all cause a ton of collateral damage that hurts other people, and even the people who threw the grenade, so good job, dipshits.
And he's actually doing a great job for us.
Oh my god. Oh, tomorrow can't get here soon enough. Please, 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 everyone go vote. I really don't want to deal with 4 more years of smug John. It'd be great.
There's nothing good about draining money and jobs from the American economy because experts tell you that it will bring democracy to the world and help us in the long run. Guess what? We've done it for decades. People are hurting. You were wrong. Stop speaking forever. Like, you have no credibility. And of course, the economy under Trump was roaring. We all know that, setting all sorts of records, lowest unemployment for all different groups of people, record high workforce participation. Stock market was great, breaking records. Manufacturing jobs were coming back. And then even after the
Oh my god.
pandemic struck, our recovery has been better than all of the
If it only weren't for the thing Trump did, then Trump would have been doing a real good job. Interesting take. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but okay.
experts predicted, whereas Joe Biden's economic plan.
I don't give a shit about GDP, by the way. What kind of weirdos like, oh yeah, I might be making less money than I ever was, and by the way, the job numbers that John was parroting also included the highest number of underemployed people. Again, in decades, underemployment is basically like, oh, I went and I got a master's degree, but now I'm working at KFC because I can't find a real job with the thing that I'm doing. So, John, what you're doing is you're basically saying, like, people are suffering, but at least we're producing a bunch of shit. I don't care. I do not care what the GDP is if people in the country have a lower quality of life. Stupid.
Would set the country back. Joe Biden represents the administrative state. He represents the bureaucracy. And literally what that means is a bunch of losers sit in Washington at a desk making like 80 grand a year, and they sit there and they try to tell you how you should be running your small business. And they're never up for re-election because they were never elected, but they were put there to sit and soak up tax.
Hey, dummy, every single government in the world needs a bureaucracy. Just shitting on it because you don't like the concept of it is stupid. How do you expect anything to get done? Like, we have elected officials, and those elected officials then hire people. But, like, that's part of the system. You can't just be like, I don't like government pencil pushers who actually make the government run. Okay, what's your alternative, John? Please, enlighten me what your alternative is to having people employed by the government to run the government.
Taxpayer money while hurting your small business and helping mega corporations take up more of the market share. And that's why they're giving their support to Joe Biden. And that's why it's been proven that he would be a disaster for the economy, because the economy does well when the American people are put first. And Joe Biden is simply not interested in that. I mean, the guy has been in Washington for 50 years. He's made millions of dollars. How? How do you make millions of dollars in politics? How does that work? At least Trump made his money in business, and then he actually...
John, fun fact, you can actually go look. See, Joe Biden did this thing that every other presidential candidate has done for like the last 40 years, except for Donald Trump. He released like 17 years of taxes, so you can go look at Joe Biden's taxes and find out exactly how he made all his money. Trump refuses to do that, though. His taxes had to literally be leaked, which discovered that he's only paid $750 in taxes over the last however many years. He also owes like $500 million, or was it 900,000? I don't. It was between $500 million and like $900 million to someone that's due this year. It's a bunch of ridiculous shit. So, John, if you want to know how Biden made his money, it's all publicly available. Go for it. Go read. It's not unscrupulous.
Actually lost money when he got involved in politics. Do you think that 50 years later, Joe Biden's
Wind Chanter, John may literally be the worst chud because he doesn't actually have arguments, he just has talking points. Yeah, it's real bad.
suddenly going
He knows what he's doing, though. He's aware.
to decide to stop making deals that benefit himself and his friends and family at your expense? Absolutely not. His record is clear. Same thing with foreign policy. Joe Biden voted to get involved in Iraq. He bragged about it. Biden wants to keep us in the Middle East. He wants to continue the forever wars because he's a part of the military-industrial complex. It really is that simple. He's not campaigning on bringing our soldiers home because he doesn't want to. That's not a priority to him. His friends make lots of money when your sons and daughters die, but it's supposed to be okay because, hey, they'll give you a flag and tell you that, oh, your freedoms are safe or something, right? I don't buy it. Trump is reducing our presence in the Middle East. He's brokering peace deals. He's bringing peace to a region of the world that was actually pretty stable until we got involved because we wanted to spread democracy and make a lot of money in the process.
I would love to see John cite why he thinks Trump is bringing peace to the Middle East. Please, for the love of God, someone... I can't say that. Twitch TOS. Never mind.
For a handful of people. And to me, all other issues are second to this. These issues take precedence because if we don't know what we're doing as a country, we don't have secure borders, we don't have an economy that allows for people to live and have families. We're taking trillions of dollars from American families and just yeeting them along with their children thousands of miles away. If we can't even get that together, how are we ever supposed to solve something like climate change? If you think that reducing our carbon footprint is a good idea, okay.
Are you seriously going to try and say that Trump's good for climate change? Trump doesn't even believe climate change is real, John. He's on the record, on camera, saying this stuff.
Well, you have to understand that we will never be able to do that until we solve these other problems. Because when people are hurting, when they're being exploited, do you think they really care about the impact that they're having on the environment, their carbon footprint? They don't even know what that means.
People know what carbon footprint means if they're not an idiot, John. Way to talk down to your audience.
Solution to that is innovation. America used to be about innovation, but we can't have innovation if the government is going to come in and regulate that innovation.
Vote in the poll. There's a poll going on that Baja Blast put. How are you feeling about the election? Yeah, the winning position so far is basically where I'm at, I think.
There's nothing funny about the tools.
Tucker White 94, good F. I stepped away for 20 minutes and he's still talking. Yeah, we're almost done. Wind Chanter with 20 bits. Trump, I think real heroes don't get captured. Trump, that's the dude that's pro-veteran. John, really? Yeah, it's stupid. Biden might win, winning. Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. Biden might win. He might not.
Into the ground because they've used their propaganda machines to tell you that it's actually in your best interest. And that's all it is. It's all propaganda. I mean, do you remember when they tried to tell us for 2 years that Donald Trump was a Russian asset? Why don't you hear about that anymore? Because it was a psyop. They were
capitalism.
No, if you actually read the report, John, it's pretty clear that yes, he was working with Russia. Like, the DOJ basically said, hey, we don't indict sitting presidents. This is up to Congress. And then Congress did impeach him. And then the Senate, because they're partisan. Everyone's partisan. The Senate didn't remove him, even though the report was like, hey, this isn't good. And remember the whole individual one thing? Where, like, Trump's lawyer is in jail for that, but Trump isn't? Because, again, the Department of Justice... their official position, which is the stupidest position, is we don't indict or arrest sitting presidents even if they break the law. Stupid. Chief Tony with 30 bits, just a friendly reminder to please vote tomorrow. Tucker White 94, he's so close to getting it. Yeah.
We're trying to appeal to this long-held conception of American foreign policy that Russians equal bad. And then, like, yeah, okay, hello.
No. Russians, the people who live in Russia, do not equal bad. Like any country, Russia's full of, I'm sure, wonderful people. with different beliefs and morals and all that. Like, it's a whole country full of people.
Funny about the
What
tools
we
of
don't
capitalism.
like is the government of Russia, John, because Russia is an autocratic state run by a de facto dictator, and they also really don't like gay people. That's a benefit to John.
There's nothing
But
funny about
actually,
the tools
John,
of
I don't know if you know
capitalism.
this, but it's not good. Putin's not a good guy. Putin murders political rivals regularly. He's not someone you want to be friends with.
1980s department.
Sitting presidents can't get arrested? What? Yeah, the Department of Justice has made it clear that their position is if you are the president, we are not going to arrest you. That is, you could murder someone as the president, and the Department of Justice isn't doing shit. Stellar Sea Cow, so when Biden is sworn in, does that mean that they can then arrest Trump right then and there? I mean, who's gonna do it? Nothing's gonna happen to Trump, guys. Don't expect that. Like, the American justice system is not made with making rich people, like, account for their crimes. It just doesn't happen. Don't expect anything to happen to Trump.
Can we get our foreign policy back?
Let me put it this way. Nothing happened to Nixon, nothing's happening to Trump. And I know part of that was Nixon got pardoned, but even if he hadn't been, nothing would have happened.
It just wasn't true, so they moved on to the next thing, and that's all they'll do forever. And if Trump loses, they'll tell you, okay, we made a mistake, but it's okay. Let's just make sure that something like that never happens again. Shh. And then it'll all continue. The establishment will return to business as usual. They will profit. You and your families will suffer. It really is that simple.
Doubt. John, it's possible that if Trump loses, things will go back to at least some form of normalcy. It would be kind of nice. I kind of doubt it, though, because I think a lot of rabid Trump supporters, especially those who believe in, like, QAnon BS, are going to commit some terrorist attacks. I think that's going to happen, and I don't think it's going to stop on election night. I think it's going to be a thing we're going to be dealing with for a while, unfortunately. But I don't think things will be the same in politics. Younger generations are continually coming up with different political positions than their parents and their parents' parents. We see this in, like, the youth's propensity for being more open to ideas of, like, socialism, whereas boomers and stuff, of course, have, like, the Red Scare, you know, burned into their brains. I think things will eventually change positively for the United States, but it's going to be a long and arduous process, especially because we have to undo so much of the damage caused by Donald Trump, both in terms of our reputation on the world stage and actual decisions he's made, not to mention the judiciary, which has been completely effed by his Supreme Court picks. So hopefully Joe Biden will get elected, and hopefully he will have the balls to expand the court. We'll see what happens.
And I get that his tweets are off-putting. I get that he talks like he's giving a presentation that he didn't prepare for the night before. I get that. But frankly, those are inconsequential when compared to the bigger picture. All of that is insignificant compared to what he actually represents here and what this election seriously comes down to, which very simply put is that a vote for Donald Trump is a vote for putting the American people first. And a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for returning to the status quo of putting the Washington establishment and the ruling class first at the expense directly of the American people.
No.
Be smart, folks. Hey guys, if you like this video,
Jesus Christ. Let me help John get his interaction up. It's very frustrating listening to John. Because none of it, and other people mention this, it's not really argumentation as much as it is parroting talking points. And we all do that to an extent, but it gets increasingly frustrating coming from John, especially knowing his background, because he doesn't know anything about the real world. Like, I'm not going to pretend I'm the most worldly person ever, but I'm like an adult person who owns my own business and have for almost a decade now. I have a house, I have a mortgage, I have a car that I make payments on, you know what I mean? I pay my bills monthly. John is a Subway employee who lives with his parents and has a YouTube show where he has a gun in the background, and that's the extent of his life experience. So it's just frustrating listening to him talk like, I know what I'm talking about. I am conservative. Okay, what have you done, John? What have you done in your life that makes you think you know anything about the real world? Just weird. Like, John lives in a wealthy area. The funny thing is, John will claim Oh, I'm from Detroit. I'm from Detroit. I know what it's like living in the city. John lives in a wealthy suburb of Detroit with his parents. It's just frustrating. I don't think he's never once has John struggled and been like, how am I going to get food today? How am I going to pay that bill? How am I going to pay my mortgage or my rent? And yet he thinks he's this, like, big brain political boy, and it's so weird. John, you don't. You don't. Grow up.
Nothing funny about
Grow up, John. Get an apartment and go live in the real world for a while before you start casting aspersions on other people for their political beliefs. It's just ridiculous. Winch Chanter with 20 bits. He's hoping to get that sweet toilet paper, YSA, or Coke, brother cash. Can we Jeremy? Probably. The stream's going to get cut a little short because I forgot I had to go to Jake's later.